Well, one, every young person I see, and I don't feel like I'm 50% of where I want to be in life, but they'll be like, what did you do? I read, real constantly read. And then when I write a book, it is the publisher will probably come up with a cooler title, but we get what we think about in life, Omar, whether we like it or not. So if you can command your thoughts and not let go of your vision, you'd be surprised how you can make them come true. And that or not, because but if you're thinking not, if you're thinking this always we all have that person in our life. I always get sick. This always happens to me. And I'll be like, of
Yeah.
course it does, because you think it's gonna happen to you.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Mr. Deed podcast show. Today we have Mr. Scott Clark. He's actually the chairman and CEO of the True Life Companies, a real estate investment and development firm focused on acquiring and preparing land for residential development in high demand markets. So, thank you so much for taking time out of your looks like absolutely beautiful day where you're at, by the way, Scott, to be with
Yes.
us today.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Omar.
So tell me, how did this company come to life? What was the meaning behind it? What happened? You just woke up one day and said, "Hey, let's go. We're going to start doing developments."
A mentor of mine a long time ago, Omar, told me, do not get the macro story wrong. Don't get the macro thesis wrong in whatever business you're trying to launch. You have so many mentors over the years, can't even remember who it was. But our strategy is simple in that we are massively undersupplied in what we call attainably priced for sale housing. And we focus on the millennial generation that struggled to get their first piece of the American dream. And we are providing, you could see us as a future community factory for America's publicly traded home builders. So we provide the land for them to put their widgets, homes on it. We're really proud of our mission.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So where did that mission come? You told us a little bit about it, but did something happen throughout your life that you said, you know what, this is what I want to do and create this
Yeah.
mission?
Yeah, back in the early 2000s, like a lot of us, was in late 30s when 9/11 hits and had a young family. And I always wanted to be a homeowner, always wanted to have what I saw as a piece of the American dream. And I was a finance kind of economist expert by trade. And some buddies approached me and were like, this country started to get me understanding that even then we were undersupplied from a market when you teamed it with the demographics of our millennial generation and young kids coming to market. And I've always been an entrepreneurial guy at heart, Omar. I'm unemployable. I've been an entrepreneur for 35 years now. So I was always who isn't fascinated by being a developer, if you will. That was the original genesis. I think as humans, we love 3D things. We love seeing them come to life. And I always wanted to run my own business. So I started out as a money supplier to the space. And then right before the financial crisis, we became a developer and started buying our own property and putting roads, streets, curbs, gutters in there and then selling them to home builders. So that was the genesis of the business.
I love that. It's a great
Yeah,
story. A
yeah.
great story. So let's talk a little bit about the housing crisis right now. So what do you believe the housing affordability crisis? Do you think it's worse than most people realize, or do you think it's going to get better? Kind of give us your two
Great
cents on
question.
that one.
I think it's way worse than people realize. A lot of us will drive by Orlando as an example. I think a market you're not far from. You'll see lumber in the air. It's been growing for years, right? And you're like, what are you
Mm,
talking about? There's lumber everywhere. There's plenty of housing coming up. Reality is, in America, there are 89 million-ish 25 to 39-year-olds. And there's a million no more houses listed for sale in America today, just over a million. The average first time home buying age in America is now going north of 40. Now, not in every market, depending on the markets we're certainly in, because the supply demand dislocation is as bad as it's ever been. So you've got, okay, so of the 90 million people, half of them, 25% already own a home. It's probably less than that. Okay, then cut that in half. Cut it in half again, cut it in half again, Omar, and you are drastically undersupplied. And that's why residential real estate appreciation has tripled inflation for the last 10 years. And I don't see an end in sight because the Generation Zs that are coming behind the millennials, it just keeps coming. And we've massively undersupplied the space, underinvested in the space since the financial crisis. Now, you asked a two-part question. Do I think it's getting better? Until some of the regulation, which has been the challenge of not getting enough to market, is being loosened, even in our beloved California, where we have the majority of our exposure, there are laws being passed that are creating scenarios that will make it easier for residential real estate to get approved. But that's a lifetime in the making, and we're going to be undersupplied for quite some time, Omar. But as rates come down, which we believe they will, as interest rates come down, for every quarter point reduction in a mortgage rate, 1 million more Americans qualify for a mortgage. So that's the solution, if you will, is lowering of interest rates.
Who do you think is feeling the biggest impact of the current supply shortage, would you say?
Oh, the folks that are early 30s are the people we serve, the 25 to 39-year-olds, right? Because they're like, we can't afford our piece of the American dream. A certain percentage are still living at home with their parents,
Yeah.
right? And we all know what's happened with rents and with the price of residential. So I think it's without question we talk in America a lot about the dissatisfaction of some of our younger folks. So the separation of wealth in America, right? Big popular comment or topic, Omar. So how much of that is created by, it's a little controversial, but in places like San Francisco? I'm from the Bay or from Chicago, but lived in the Bay half my life. A moat's been created around the city. If you already have yours, it just keeps going up in value because you're not approving any new stuff, right? And the younger folks are shut out, and the more mature folks end up owning the majority of it. So it's our younger folks that have been challenged by this, and our brand and model is trying to do something about it.
I love that. When it comes to building new communities, what does it actually take to bring a new housing community from concept to reality?
Yeah, really good question, right? Because I think most of us drive by lumber and go, oh, they found a piece of dirt and you start building, right?
That's easy. I can
Reality,
do
come on,
that.
anybody can do that, Omar. Reality is firms like ours have been working on that dirt. What we do is we'll repurpose retail strip centers, commercial office buildings, things like that. We'll repurpose the dirt underneath it to a residential approval from the prior approval. But the reality is, it's on average takes 3 years to go from, hey, this sounds like, Omar, a spot that could turn into housing, to get all of the jurisdiction approvals and permits to turn it into housing. Then it typically takes another year for the home builder to demo the building, put the pipe in the ground, and then start building the model. So the whole plan is about 5 years from start to model home on average.
That's a long time.
It is. And there's money, engineers, architects, environmental studies, biology studies, hydrology studies, everything to get the approvals to turn it into residential.
Well, you said something key there, right? Money. So how is it that a company like yours can sustain all that, where you're almost not seeing a return for 5 to 8 years? How do you sustain that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, right? Because I'll try to be concise. Old way of doing it that we did as well, and this is how it's still mainly done. You find a large tract of land, a big ranch in Florida or something, right? And
Mhm.
you turn it into a master plan community
Yep.
with 1,000 houses, let's just say 500 houses. They're littered all over America. You're, to your point, going to have $100 million in the ground potentially before you sell your first house, and then it's going to take you 5 to 7 years. So if the market continues to take off, you're happy, everybody's happy. Really difficult way to invest in our space. So what we do is we take bite-sized acreage, 5 acres. Remember, we're trying to serve the millennial generation, smaller square footage, something they can afford. So we'll take a retail strip center, if you will. We do nationally syndicated funds in the wealth management world, the financial advisor world, Omar.
Mhm.
And we go out to all of them. They put their clients in our offering for some potentially really good investment returns. And then that's how we raise the money associated with taking that retail strip center, turning it from that use to a fully designed residential community. Then we sell that fully designed community to the builder. They do all the demo, all of that. So we have a very capital light strategy, about 3 million per deal we spend versus 20 or 30 million back in the old days. So it's a more capital light strategy. We think it's the right way to bring residential to the marketplace.
Let me make sure I understand this. So what you guys doing are you're finding the location, you're taking that spot, and then what you're doing is, hey, listen, this is what could be here, and what we're going to do is we're going to get this all ready for you, Mr. Builder Developer. All right, look, we've already went to the county, they've already approved it for X, so we've already done all the fun stuff. We went behind the scenes, we got all that done. So this is pretty much now a deliverable product where you just got to go in, tear that building down, go vertical, start your sales, etc. Here you go, done.
Yep, yep. Picture us, Omar, as a major supplier to the housing industry and to the big publicly traded home builders. So we're a supply chain engine for them, a real estate residential platform that supplies them with the approvals they need to go ahead and get the housing in the air. And we're relying on each other. They're relying on us for that future inventory. We're relying on them to buy what it is we've designed and got approvals at the jurisdiction.
So from the time that you started this business to, let's say, today, have you seen any kind of like chat where, Omar, it's a lot more challenging now to get approvals than from what it used to be in certain counties or cities, etc.?
Without question. Let me give you just a really quick example. I
Okay.
moved to California from the Midwest in 1987. In 1987, there was 26 million people in California. Today, there's 40 million. And if you watch too much Fox News or whatever, everybody was leaving. But reality is, it was just no offense to Fox, it was just a blip down, and it's growing again now. At that point in time, California was delivering more than 200,000 units to the marketplace per year to keep up with demand. For the last 15 years, we've delivered less than 100,000 units, all because of regulation. It's not lack of investment appetite, Omar. It's all regulation associated with trying to get the housing approved. What I will tell you about our beloved California is we came off bottom. Our team thinks we came off bottom about 12 months ago, where I'm not going to share a bunch of legal document or legal stuff with you, but different legislation was passed from the Newsom administration that is now making it the jurisdiction has no choice. If you follow the plan, they still fight you all the way. Don't get me wrong, but we think we've come off bottom and we can deliver more housing to the marketplace. But it's gotten way harder, to your question, since we started doing this years ago. And frankly, that's our expertise. I'm really proud of it. We know how to do it. It's not for amateurs. Everybody wants to be a developer until you try. It's not for amateurs. I get a lot of people coming to me. What do you think about this piece of dirt? What do you think about it? I go, be careful. That's what my first thing is. I say, be careful. It's hard, but it can't get done.
No, you're right. I had someone call me yesterday and they're like, "Hey, we think we want to buy a piece of land and build a custom home on it." I'm like, "All right." I said, "You guys are what, let's see, 26 years old, you're about to get married, you don't have any kids yet. Like, you do understand that when it comes to buying a piece of land, that you're going to be spending money up front that you cannot get back via the due diligence process." I said, "So you'll be spending probably anywhere between 2 to 8 grand, 10 grand, maybe depending on the size of the land and what's buildable, what's not buildable." I said, "You're opening up a whole different can of worms
Thank you.
that, in my opinion, I don't think with you starting out with a family and getting married, I don't think you should open up that can of worms right now
I
unless you
would.
have that money that you can just blow away and you
Thank
could
you.
be okay with blowing that money away."
Don't thank you. It's
Yeah,
it. I would totally agree with that advice. Buy a finished house until you get more capacity. To your point, for our strategy, the average community has about 100 homes that it'll eventually be designed for homes. We'll spend $100,000 on due diligence before it can get into our fund. Because just because there was a building on it before does not mean you can put housing on it.
exactly. And
Yeah,
like you said, there's a lot of rules and changes, and probably that building that was on there before, that's old rules. Now all of a sudden you probably have to do completely different rules. Maybe the soil or the land has changed as well.
thank
There's
you.
so many different factors that you have to implement, and you have to understand, listen, what was done yesterday might be one thing, but land
Totally.
changes, time
Yeah.
changes, so you don't know what kind of animal you're going to be getting involved with.
Yeah. It's an interesting business too, Omar, because like we're in 9 geographical areas throughout the country. It's not unusual for us to be in a state capital. The more bureaucracy, the more regulation, the more our model thrives and the more appreciation there is in real estate. We would never go to Houston. There's no zoning. Nothing wrong with Houston, but you and I with a pickup truck could do what we do in Houston. So we're in Austin, Raleigh, a bunch of areas, coastal California, Denver, Salt Lake. So areas where they are significantly running behind on their ability to keep up with the growth and demand of housing in that particular jurisdiction. My partner would say, if it's not broke, we don't go there. So candidly, Florida's not broke. We're not going to Florida, Omar.
So you guys are in Washington? No.
We should be right in DC, right? We're not. No, I'm not taking that on. I have to take on California. I'm not taking on DC. But
Oh
anyway,
man.
we are at markets where clearly they have the highest percentage of 25 to 39-year-olds. We have to follow STEM jobs, though I'd rather sell a house to an HVAC guy, candidly, but we follow STEM jobs. We follow certainly the migration patterns of the millennial generation. So tech, engineering, medical, etc.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I'm sitting there
Mm-hmm.
thinking, man. So yeah, no, I wish you guys were in Florida, but hopefully Floridians, if you're listening, you better pass that rule where we don't have to pay, where if it's your homestead, you don't have to pay state the taxes on
I hope
property
they figure that
taxes.
out.
You know what?
I'm
I'm
in.
sure they
Yeah,
will.
I'm sure, and
It's
yeah.
already got approved. It's actually going to hit the ballot. So
It
our governor
it'll
and our
get done.
officials, yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't. And then I think that right there, that's going to that's pretty much. I think it will start setting a precedence to where other states might say, wait a minute, because I know New Jersey's been looking into it, Philadelphia's been looking into it, but Florida's the first one to actually get it on there now.
I
So
think
let's see
it's
what
really.
happens.
I'm super impressed with Florida. I'm sure it has its challenges, but 900 people a day move to Florida, Omar.
Yeah, and it's been like that for a long time. I think it's been like that for 5 or 6 years, where 900 to 1,000 people move here a day. It's just
I
been,
know.
oh man,
Yeah.
I tell
So
you
you'll
what.
have a housing crisis that just went because you literally. I was just looking at the stats the other day in Florida. You need so figure 2.6 people per household. So 900, you basically need to build 350 units a day to keep up with that kind of growth, apartments and homes, etc. That's a lot.
There's a lot. That
That's
I
a
mean,
lot. Think
that
about that. Yeah, yeah, that's a lot.
all I'm thinking about the traffic just increasing even
I'm
more.
sure the traffic is what exactly you were thinking about. I was in the South Florida as part of my trip last week. I was talking about the week before, and yeah, the traffic on whatever those highways were pretty intense.
Yeah, yeah. Traffic in South Florida is intense. You know
Yep.
what? But
No.
one of the great things here that we finally got right is we actually have a train that goes from Orlando to South Florida. And
Wow.
yeah, yeah. And I love the Bright Line. I actually done it a couple of times. Now they're even talking about extending it from not only hitting Miami and South Florida, going all the way to Tampa. I'm like, it's genius. You know what?
Wow.
Take it to Jacksonville, take it to Daytona, take it to all the major places where we know that Floridians are going to stop. And it's I'm not going to say it's going to take a lot off the roads because Floridians are used to driving, and that's something I don't think you're ever going to take away from them. But you know what? As far as when it comes to commuting, maybe families or businesses, that's what we use it for. We use it for a lot of our meetings over there. We go
Great.
first thing
How
in the morning,
cool.
and then we
Yeah.
come back at night. That's it, done. Instead of
Oh my God,
driving
it's
3.5 hours, we actually
cool.
get work done as
Yeah.
well. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. You can work while you're on the train.
I love it, man. It's easy to board. It's very easy through security when you're going through Orlando International. It's genius, and I hope
Yep.
they just keep on expanding on it and making it better.
Yeah. I'm really impressed with Florida.
Thank you, thank you. So
Yeah.
am I, my life. But all right, so let's talk about all right. When it comes to how can commercial or even underused properties be converted into residential housing, and is that something actually? So let's say the zoning is commercial, and then you're like, you know what? Commercial was great here at this time, but now residential, we're probably where we're talking about where you said someone like Florida, where you have too many people moving in. You know what? This commercial was great, but now we have to go more residential, but we got to go higher. How do you repurpose
Right.
it? Is it easy? Is it difficult? The bureaucracy, etc.
It's like your advice you gave to your young friends, right? The When we go to Raleigh, North Carolina, first of all, we find and hire and make part of the team the 25-year veteran from that marketplace because you have to know where bones are buried, you have to know the local jurisdiction, you have to know the zoning. So Some zoning can get repurposed from commercial to or retail to residential. Some jurisdictions want no part of that because retail creates sales tax. Now they're faking themselves out because we know more and more we're not getting in the car to go get stuff. We're having it sent to the house, whether it's
Yep.
Amazon or whatever. Who
Hmm.
would go to the store if you didn't have to? I guess
Yep.
some people. Repurposing or rezoning can be difficult. We'll typically try to find areas that are already zoned residential, but they're still something else. In other words, the planners knew it needed to be a residential corridor, but it still might be commercial office. We all know that the country's still trying to figure out how much commercial office we really need. We all just know it's less. So
Hmm.
the value of commercial real estate has done this, depending on location, whereas the value of residential has done this. So if you can get the zoning repurposed or what's called the entitlements repurposed to residential, you're creating value by doing that for your investors. But it can be done, but it's very site selective, Omar. Significant due diligence to see if the jurisdiction's ever going to entertain what it is you want to do. But reality is it can. The other question you had there was mostly if we're trying to serve the 25 to 39-year-olds, my first house, I'll date myself, I bought in 1986, was 1,100 square feet because you still a price per square foot business, right?
Yep.
So we try to create high density, not towers. They're all stick built because we have to sell them to the publicly traded home builders. But we want to take 3 acres and believe it or not, put 100 units on it. So there's a small park. There's small units because you're trying to get someone having the ability to buy their first piece of the American dream. So they might be 1,400 square feet to 2,000 square feet, and they're probably townhomes,
Hmm.
right? Where they're connected together. Very little of what we do is single family because, again, we're trying to hit a price point. But you can rezone retail, commercial, sometimes dairy farms. We have a winery in the portfolio that's getting converted into retail or residential. So you always try to take something that had a lesser value, turn it into something with a higher value. That's residential real estate for sale.
So you said something interesting about where people just don't really, when it comes to going shopping or going to the grocery stores, that's not really so much because now you can order anything. So with that being said, where do you think the future of real estate is really going to be?
Yeah. I lay in bed at night and I'll be like, Omar, or on a hike, I'll be going, I know artificial intelligence may replace some jobs. I know we're uncertain about how much retail the country needs, how much commercial office it needs. But I'm like, we're all going to need to have a place to put our head on the pillow. I'm
Correct.
assuming. So then, what is that? Is that a smaller? Like, who doesn't want the big house? At my age, I have the big house. But when I was 26, when I bought my 24, when I bought my first house, it was super small because I think most young people feel that desire to own real estate. We have done study after study that shows how much more likely they are to vote, how much more likely they are to coach, go to church, be part of their community when you're a homeowner versus a renter, right? So we believe we have a just cause for America. So as I see real estate develop, look, the story since forever has been it used to have its best, highest value as this type of property, a retail strip center not far from where you live. 20 years goes by, the grocery anchor moves out. Now it's got some graffiti on it, and you drive by it and you go, that's awful. So real estate forever has been evolving into something of greater value. That's what we do in real estate, right? So I think storage facilities have been huge, mostly in Florida because you don't have basements. People move to Florida and they're like, wait a minute, what happened to all my spots for all my boxes? You got to rent a storage facility,
Yeah.
right? So you turn something, we don't do that, but a lot of guys do that very successfully. They create storage. So I think specialty retail has gotten really hot. Like you can think of some cool places that are I was in West Palm Beach last week. That's got to be one of the most bougie places I've ever been in my life, by the way. And there's this really cool, my wife's birthday, a really fast story. My wife's birthday, while she traveled with me, and it was her birthday, and I took her to Worth Drive. Some of your listeners are going to hear of it. Worth Street or Worth Drive. All the bougie stores. I'm going to buy her something nice, Omar. She's going to be happy with me. She tries on this jacket that'll be on the Nordstrom rack in 2 weeks. It's $3,400. And I went, whoa, honey, sorry, we're on the wrong street. Point is, they had all these really cool specialty retail spots. Every other car was a Rolls or a Bentley or something, right? So I think that's around for a while. Commercial office building, the office has had a little bit of a bounce back. I think we're past, but still, we're way oversupplied as a country. And you're going to see more and more of that repurposed to specialty retail or residential. And then, yeah, and these big shops, I think, are going to slow down the big, massive stores because, again, you don't need to go to the Walmart and get your toothpaste. You just have it sent to the house.
Yeah,
So it'll be interesting to see the evolution of real estate. But we're long residential because people have to have a place to lay their head and have Thanksgiving dinner.
agreed. 100% agreed. So one thing that I've traveled quite a bit, and there's some ideas that I have to combine what I see from what I grew up to what I see from what me being able to travel all around the country and like combine everything from seeing real estate and not only real estate, but the way people live. Because I remember visiting my sister who lives in Holland. This was almost 11
Oh,
years ago. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, she's okay, I'm gonna go get groceries. I'm like, all right, and I get dressed. I'm like, come on, let's go. She goes, what are you doing? I'm like, I thought we're going to the car. She goes,
go to the
no.
store.
Done. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? She goes, yeah, groceries will be here in about 5 minutes. We weren't even doing that yet. Amazon was in nowhere as big as Amazon was there, but like just groceries right to
Boom.
her. And then she taught, and it's funny how us in the United States, we think that we're so advanced. There's so many things we're not advanced on, so many things compared to other
Right.
parts of the world. So I remember one time we were talking about something, and I was on the phone, and I'm like, yeah, just write a check to so and so when I was out, and she's like, checks, you guys still do that? I'm
Check.
like, yeah.
Who does
She goes,
that? Yeah.
we don't even have that. She goes, that's been banned here for like 30 years. Everything's electronic. And
You know,
even to this day, you still got checks and what here in the United States. It's funny, and there was so many things that when I was looking there, and I was just getting involved in real estate, and I was just fascinated by the way they built things, by the way they took exactly what you just said, took some of the commercial spaces and that were dead and repurposed it to where you literally, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. What a great idea they did, where you have everything all in one little hub. And it just created so much of a community around it because of it,
you should, yeah.
the way they restructured it.
Yeah, you should think about having a futurist on your show. And I just love when those people start talking about what they see in the future. And the
Yeah.
one thing that I'm trying to wrap my mind around, we were approached by a group, it's been 5 years ago now, that said, we want to talk to you guys because they thought the master plan was on the comeback. And I went, we're not master plan. We're anti-master plan. You got to cut a bunch of dirt. You got to top off hillsides. You got to do, we want utility stuff. All they go, with the advent of autonomous cars, it's going to change your thought process because traffic is caused by humans hitting the brakes when they don't need to or cutting somebody off or something,
Yeah.
right? It's actually not the number of cars typically. And if you can have autonomous trucks at night, you take them off the road. What effect is that going to have on real estate? So I think that'd be an interesting conversation at some point, Omar, to talk about that as it pertains to residential.
Scott, if you think that's interesting, I had a young lady on who is actually in the flying car market, and that's what their company does, and it's huge in China and Europe. So,
Wow.
so you think autonomous is, wait till we
See,
start getting involved in the flying car.
totally.
Yeah,
Then all of
totally
a
different.
sudden, right?
Totally
All of
different.
a sudden, having today, I have a 20-minute commute, 25, 30, because my wife, we're in the foothills of Colorado. She wanted to be up by the mountains. Great, honey, whatever you want. I get a 30-minute commute. Not bad, not awful. But if you had a flying car,
Yeah,
you could live up in Vale and just shoot up there in 45 minutes in a flying car.
yeah.
So I think, yeah, that's going to be really interesting as it pertains to residential
Yeah,
and
that
everything.
right. Yeah, right now, once again, it's huge in China. And they have companies here that are doing it. But right now, you can buy one if you want, very expensive.
Okay,
But they're working it to where it's going to become a lot more affordable now for
sure.
you. And guess what? It'll be flying itself.
It'll be great.
It'll be
Exactly.
fine. So
Autonomous. You put
yeah.
in, you put a movie on, or you
Mm.
get a Zoom going, or whatever it might be. So
Yeah,
anyway,
it's amazing. All right, two more questions.
sure.
As you're sitting there, when you're driving around in Colorado, or maybe you go back home in California, or all these different states that you work in, do you drive by a location and said, "Hey, we did that"? How does that make you feel?
That's so great you say that. There is a spot off the 470, which is a highway that wraps around Denver, and I travel a lot. And I go to the airport, and I go by Omar every time I go to the airport, and I go, boom, because there are 433 families living in a community. There's a dedicated school site, K through eight through seven through six school site. And I'm like, wow, through ingenuity, risk, and our investor help, we created a place where 433 families are living their American life, their American dream. Right. And I know that all of us and all your listeners, if they own their home, they probably say that's the one place where I can leave the rest of the world behind. So one place I can create memories. It's the one place where I feel safe from the rest of the world. And yes, so I you can't imagine how much gratitude I have for being able to now today more than 6,000 units have been brought to the marketplace from our efforts. It'd be cool. One time I thought it'd be great to see all the sites and see them all. There's been too many now to actually go and see them. But I think this when I think about the stress of what humans call stress of leading a company, then I put myself to sleep at night knowing those people are turning that key and smelling that lumber and feeling better about their lot in life because we took the risk and I've been blessed to be surrounded by some amazing talent that knows how to do this stuff. Yeah. Great question.
I love that, man. That's awesome. Last question. If you could just leave one deed behind action mindset or even a lesson for all the listeners today, what would that be?
Well, one, every young person I see, and I don't feel like I'm 50% of where I want to be in life, but they'll be like, what did you do? I read, real constantly read. And then when I write a book, it is the publisher will probably come up with a cooler title, but we get what we think about in life, Omar, whether we like it or not. So if you can command your thoughts and not let go of your vision, you'd be surprised how you can make them come true. And that or not, but if you're thinking not, if you're thinking this we all have that person in our life. I always get sick. This always happens to me. And I'll be like, of
Yeah.
course it does, because you think it's going to happen to you. It's like the most simple, yet very difficult for us humans to be able to command our thoughts and keep them on what we want to achieve out of life or thinking of good outcomes. And I've had a mindfulness coach in my life for 15 years. If you can find one, I would strongly recommend people, your listeners, getting one because she taught me how to meditate. She taught me how to catch myself before I get down the rabbit hole of worry. And
Mm,
it's been really beneficial for me and hopefully my family.
I love that,
Five
man.
kids, Omar, five kids. I
Oof.
think they
Are
all
they all
like me.
girls?
No, I have three girls, two
Okay.
boys.
I say
Yeah, yeah.
I got all girls and oh my God.
Oh, you do? How many? How many?
Yeah, let's see, three, including my wife in the house. But man, I tell you, and so I've
Lots of
learned
pink.
quickly. So I have pretty much like my own little corner, and I just hide myself in there. They're 7 and 9, and then I learned quickly now. I was like, I remember when I first, I'm like, I'm just gonna work from home so I can hang out with the girls
Oh,
because
yeah.
I work a lot and I want to be with my daughters. And then I like, yeah, I could never work from home
Not going to
because
work, honey.
they
I'm out.
always come in, and then I look at my wife, I'm like, this is why I'm never here. I was like, I carve out at least a day and a half with them, but this is why I can't do nothing here because you guys always come in and interrupt me. Daddy, this is going on. Then my wife, then this, then that. Then I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
oh,
I've been there.
yeah.
I've been there.
So, Scott, you know what? It's been absolute joy having
Absolutely.
you on
Thank
this
you
show,
so
man.
much for having me on. This has been a lot of fun, Omar. I really appreciate it. Anytime you want me to come back on, I am there. Say the word.
Absolutely. As well, listen, we hope everyone enjoyed the show. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow us. We have a new episode that comes out every Friday with great people such as Scott, so where you can learn and maybe even, I don't know, maybe you decide you want to be a developer, quote unquote, and go have some fun with some dirt.
Attaboy.
Scott, thank you so much, man, for your
Thank you,
time.
Omar.
We
I really
appreciate you,
appreciate
brother.
it. Talk soon. Bye bye.
Thank you. All right, bye now. If this episode helped you understand real estate better, the next one takes it even further, covering everything from investing strategies to honest agent insights. Learn how to make smarter real estate decisions, whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out. Click the video on screen to keep watching.